Hello everybody. Today I am working on my 2001 Chevrolet Venture minivan. I'm going to be replacing the rear track bar, which is this piece here that connects the rear axle of the vehicle up into the frame of the vehicle. So as you can see, mine is pretty rusted out and the bushing is dried out, and I've been getting a weird noise coming from the rear end of my car, and the part was pretty cheap, so I figured I would go ahead and replace it and then also make a video on how to do it, because it's actually a pretty easy job to do. So for this job you are going to need a 21mm socket with a 1/2-inch ratchet, and what you're going to want to do is go ahead and put that socket on the passenger side bushing of the part. So go ahead and put the socket on the bolt on the passenger side of the track bar. And what's nice is the way that GM designed this is on the other side you actually don't have to hold the nut, because they put this little tab that's welded onto the nut, so that when you go and spin the ratchet, that tab actually holds the nut on the other side for you. So you can see I'm loosening it here, and on the other side that tab is holding itself against that part of the frame for me, which is nice. So I'm undoing the passenger side right now, and then we will move on to the driver's side. Also, this bolt is going to be very, very tight, especially if you are from a state where you get salt and snow in the winter. This bolt will be very tight and potentially rusted on. So I definitely recommend getting some WD-40 on there. I soaked it a little bit in WD-40 before I started working on it. And I even tried using an electric impact and also an air impact wrench to get that bolt off, and neither of those actually worked. So what I ended up doing is using this breaker bar here, which I was able to get enough torque on the bolt to loosen it. So I'm just using the breaker bar to finish it off and loosen this bolt completely. Alright, so I've got the driver's side out now. As you can see, same idea with the nut and bolt. The nut has a tab on the one side, so you only have to loosen it from the bolt side, and then the nut side you don't have to hold it. So driver's side, got that one out. Passenger side, it's giving me a little bit of a hard time. I think the metal bushing or sleeve, I guess, that's inside the bushing is sort of separate from the bushing, so I gotta maybe chisel at it or grab the inside with the vice grip and unscrew the outside. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. Alright, so you can see the metal sleeve inside the rubber bushing on the passenger side of the track bar is sort of seized to the bolt over here. So what I'm doing is I've got a vice grip on the metal sleeve down very tight, and then I've got my ratchet and socket on the bolt side, and I believe I'm going to be able to separate the metal sleeve and the bolt here, because it seems to be loosening. Alright, finally got the old track bar out, and then you can see I've got the new one right in front of it. So you can see there's that inner metal sleeve and the bushing that was giving me such a hard time. So I ended up gripping the metal sleeve with a vice grip and holding the bolt with the other side and hitting it with an impact, and eventually I was able to hammer it out of there. So you can see on the track bar, on the passenger side it has a pretty thick bushing, and then on the driver's side it has a thinner bushing, so you want to make sure you definitely put them on the correct side. The new track bar, it was pretty cheap. I think I paid $38 for it. I think I got it on eBay or something like that, but obviously you can find it many places online. What's interesting is it's actually the OEM AC Delco GM part. And I don't have the box anymore, but the box that it came in said that the part was actually made in China, which I thought was interesting because, you know, AC Delco is an American company and they provide parts for GM. I think they're one of the OEM parts manufacturers for General Motors, so I thought it was weird that the part came from China, but, you know, it seems to be decent enough quality. Obviously much better than what I had in there before. So the installation is going to be the exact opposite of the removal. Going to probably put the passenger or the driver's side in first, because it's got to go up into this part of the rear axle, and then we will put in the passenger side over here. Alright, here we go. Alright, so as you can see, I've got the passenger side in now. I reused the same hardware, that nut and bolt, the nut with the tab on it, we're using that. It's a 21mm socket on there, and then we've got the driver's side in, nut on the other side, and all that's left to do is tighten the bolts. Got my cordless impact here. Gonna go ahead and send that one. That one seems good. Other side. Tighten that one. And that concludes it. That is how to install a rear track bar on a Chevy Venture, and it's going to be the same thing as the Oldsmobile version of the minivan. I can't remember what it's called, but it's also the same as, I believe it's an Oldsmobile Silhouette, and a Pontiac Montana is also the same. It could also be the same as a Chevy Uplander, which is the later version of the Chevy Venture. I know they shared a lot of parts, but this is definitely something that, you know, if you know your way around a wrench and tools, you should be able to handle this on your own, because really you just take the bolt off of each side. You only have to hold it from the one side. The only issue is if you have to fight any sort of rust, which I did, but you know, it always helps to use some WD-40, and if that doesn't work, some heat from a torch will also definitely speed some things along if you've got some seized nuts and bolts. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Also, in the description of the video, I'm going to put the part number for this track bar. Should be pretty easy to find on the internet. Alright guys, take care.